Welcome to the initial launching of the Smorgasbord. I am John Knopick, and I honestly have no idea what this show is going to be about, hence the term smorgasbord. You'll come to find actually that I am the kind of person that loves to ramble about very different things at very different times. I can go from one topic to another in a quick span, and I get very long-winded, especially when I'm talking about something that I'm very passionate about. Now, on this show, you're going to come to find that we're going to be touching a little bit of everything, from conspiracy theories to professional wrestling that I've been a huge fan of for 40 plus years, to current events, to the political scene, to life events, things that have gone on in our lives. I have a bunch of stories to tell you as we go along, including one that I'm going to be talking about here shortly regarding my previous week, which has been one of the most insanely chaotic, stressful, and insane weeks of my entire 44, almost 45 years on this spinning rock that we call the third rock from the sun. But yeah, on this show, you're going to find that it is very, very up in the air. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Case in point, we've got WrestleMania coming up a week from Saturday, and the card looks pretty stacked. A lot of people have varying opinions on that. Some people are thinking it's a solid looking show. Other people say that it's in some spots looks really weak compared to other years. And I can see both sides of the coin. And that's another part of what the show is going to be about is user feedback. I feed heavily off of everyone's thoughts, opinions. I love getting different perspectives, going back and forth. Eventually, we're going to have guests on here, depending on what the topic is for the week's show. We're going to be having a bunch of different things, even possibly some fan interaction by way of feedback on these episodes as they get released to your favorite podcast channels, such as YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, etc., etc. And I might even throw in some live fan interactions as well once I feel a little more ballsy and confident in my abilities here to put out some solid content for you guys out there. Now, this has been a labor of love for me for a very long time. I have always been the kind of person that has a lot of opinions, has a lot of things that I want to say, a lot of things I want to get off my chest. As the world and everything changes, I sit back and I do a lot of observing and just taking it all in and things like that. And I've always needed an outlet and feeling like this is absolutely going to be that chance for me to do exactly what I've been looking to do, and that's get this all out there and just get the conversation going, because we have all of these opinions, we have all of these thoughts, these visions, and things like that, but we tend to be very skittish and very hesitant and very reluctant to let them out. And I feel this is going to be a free space. I feel this is going to be a space where you can pretty much speak your mind to a certain extent. Obviously, there are guidelines in place for vulgarity and other things like that, but we're also not going to be a hard stickler on the cursing and other things like that. Obviously, there will be certain topics that are absolutely off topic. We're not going to be diving into those or even acknowledging what those are. But you know as well as I do, out there in cyberspace, there is pretty much room for everything, and at the same time, there are areas that you should absolutely not be touching, and I don't even want to think about those. But this podcast, being called the Smorgasbord, is just simply that. It is a smorgasbord. It is a melting pot of a 44, for almost 45-year-old individual's random thoughts and beliefs and opinions and feedback, and who knows? I mean, we could even do live reactions to like wrestling events and things like that, or covering breaking news as it happens, depending on what's going on in the world and stuff like that. So, there's going to be a lot of room for a bunch of different things. that we're going to be able to dive into here on this show. I initially, when I was going to be starting this podcast way back in the day, was looking at mainly steering towards the conspiracy theory realm because I am a very big proprietor of not believing everything you see at face value. Because the moment you start just taking everything you say as gospel, you're immediately shutting down all possibilities for things to be any way except for one certain way, and that's the way that you're being told that it should be. One of my big mottos in my life is question everything. That's why I have a huge question mark tattoo on my wrist. It's also a nod to Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Riddler in Batman Forever, which I absolutely love. Again, I tend to also divert from my main point, but just to go off a little bit on that, Jim Carrey to me is one of my favorite all-time Batman movie characters. His role of Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler, was phenomenal. One of the best, right up there with Heath Ledger as the Joker, and I know that's very high praise, but yeah. But my tattoo is a nod to him, as well as a way of saying, question everything. Don't take anything you see at face value. Always be digging in a little deeper, doing some investigation, doing your due diligence, because you never know what you might be able to uncover once you start digging down in further and further. But yeah, this initially was going to be called the Conspiracy Bunker, where I was just going to be talking about conspiracy theories, random ones, past, present, from everything from the Bohemian Grove to Pizzagate to UFOs to Area 51 to the JFK assassination, etc., etc. But I didn't want to shoehorn myself. I didn't want to silo myself into one specific niche or genre of what this podcast is going to be. So that's the reason why I've called it the Smorgasbord, because it's going to allow me to be able to go into that space, as well as do the pro wrestling stuff, as well as doing the current events stuff, the political landscape, things like that. People, current life stuff, and things along those lines. Just to give you a little feedback about myself, a little bio on me. Again, like I said, I'm going to be 45 here in about a month. I was born and raised in the booming metropolis, college town known as Iowa City, Iowa. I will be a forever Hawkeye, no matter where I call home. I I honestly don't recommend, if you've ever lived in Iowa and you're able to get out, congratulations. If you are planning on visiting Iowa, you may find it nice. You may find that Midwestern hospitality to be charming and welcoming, but believe me, it's not a place you want to live for decades on end. It is a place that, unfortunately, from my perspective and my life, was filled with a lot of trauma and drama and heartache, for the most part. It also made me the man I am today, somewhat, but at the same time, I'm very glad I left. And after living there, the majority of my life, I actually was born the day before, or the day that Mount St. Helens erupted. That's one of my claims to fame. Um, After living there for over 3.5 decades, we finally were able to escape Iowa for the sunniness that is Southern California. I was able to get a great job opportunity with a major television station out in SoCal, and I was able to do some tech support work for them. You also come to find that I'm a massive tech nerd. I am known in my in-laws' family as their Geek Squad agent. Any tech issues they have, I'm the first person they reach out to, be it via Facebook Messenger, text, phone, you name it. But yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to move out to Southern California in 2016, with my wife, and we set up shop over in Woodland Hills in the Valley. Worked for my TV company for about a year and a half. Unfortunately, they underwent some layoffs, and because I was one of the last ones in, I was one of the first ones out. Job title got eliminated, moved me on to another television station that I absolutely loved working for. Got to actually help them build their white glove concierge tech support service literally from the ground up. And not to name drop or anything like that, but I did get to help troubleshoot and tech support issues for the likes of Terry Bradshaw, Aaron Andrews, just to name a few. Um, Again, one of the highlights of my professional career was getting to do something like that. Not just building something from the ground up, but to being able to help people on that scale was just a true dream come true. Um, After that, I moved over to a tech company that specialized in open to close online e-mortgages. They basically worked you cover to cover, start to finish. They handled everything, and I loved working for them. One of my best friends now, I met him through that company, and he and I have been really good friends since then. Um, and yeah, after that, we finally were able to have my incredible little 5-year-old son. We moved in 2020, right before the pandemic. Decided to move back to Iowa because, that was a fantastic idea. But we thought, hey, we finally have our family, we have our little guy, let's move back to our old stomping grounds. Everything's going to be unicorn rainbows and glitter. And unfortunately, the day I moved back, the day we got back, literally 12 hours within 12 hours of meeting him in person for the very first time, my mother unexpectedly passed away. So, as I said, Iowa equals trauma, drama, and things that I would just rather not revisit. That was the absolute lowest point of my life to this very moment. Um, and ever since that point, the whole time we were there, we only lived in Iowa for about a year and a half after that. And even with the pandemic going on, it was still a major train wreck cluster, you know what. Um, and I couldn't wait to find a way to get out of there. I ended up working for another television station, sensing a theme. Um, and luckily through them, I was able to get what they considered to be a promotion and to take on the role of an IT manager in training for a television station down in Birmingham, Alabama. So in 2021, we moved to Calera, Alabama, and that was a culture shock. Going from Iowa to Southern California, back to Iowa, down to Alabama. And yeah, Alabama was interesting to say the least. Unfortunately, the individuals I worked for, the higher ups, had a bullseye on me from square one and were trying to find any reason they could to part ways with me because my opinions and my vision my directives that I was given for taking over that role didn't quite jive with the way that they ran their station, and we butted heads a lot. And unfortunately, they were able to find a way to essentially cut me out. I got a really nice severance out of the deal and some time off, but um, yeah, it was a definite shock to the system. And in this entire time, just an FYI, since 2016, my wife has had the luxury of not being able to need to hold an actual 9 to 5 office job because of the money that I've been making throughout my tech spots. She's been able to focus on her labor of love, which is her novel. She's writing a series currently, a young adult series, and we'll be talking more about that later. And she's actually in the process of getting ready to publish the first one, so I'll be definitely mentioning that as time goes along. But going back to Alabama, yeah, culture shock, big culture shock. It was nice to have the Gulf of America, um, just a couple hours down south from us in Calera, because we were like literally right in the middle of the state. So we had Gulf of America, a couple hours south, Panama City Beach, Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, all that down there, and we frequented it a few times. And then up north, a couple hours north, was my sister, my incredible sister. I have a couple. One I don't talk to, and we might get into that at some point here. But when we talk about family trauma and things like that, but my incredible sister, she lives at the time she lived 2 hours north of us in just south of Nashville in a little town called Spring Hill, Tennessee, where she still calls home. And it was nice being able to have family that close because when we lived in California, all of our family was back in Iowa, so definitely wasn't as close. Um, but we were able to set up shop in Alabama for a couple of years, and we enjoyed the area for the most part, but we definitely knew it was not going to be like our forever home type environment. So the position after I lost the position with that television station, I was able to get on with a phenomenal record label that I currently am proud to be still employed and associated with, and have been now for just over 3 years. And that allowed us to move up to Jackson, Tennessee, aka Little Gunshot Alley. If you guys are familiar with Western Tennessee, especially near the Memphis area, you'll come to find that that is not the safest place for people to reside, especially people who have young families. And Memphis is about an hour west of Jackson, and unfortunately, Memphis's crime and all of the other negative stuff has been slowly making its way eastbound and has started to infiltrate Jackson more and more. So much so that I didn't even feel comfortable having my wife and son go to our local public library for story time every week because they'd been approached by so many transients and other people, and it was just not a safe area. But we lived there for a year. Had to do the whole lease thing because we've been renting to own. Just don't have the credit right now to be able to actually buy a house, nor did we feel like we wanted to set up roots there. Um, but after that year was up, we were fortunate enough to find a spot here in Columbia, Tennessee, where I now call home at the current time, just about 6 miles away from my incredible sister in Spring Hill. We're about 40 miles south of Nashville, so we're right in a very good spot here in Middle Tennessee. Um, my son and wife have been thriving in this area. He has made he makes fast friends. If you ever met him or you ever get a chance to meet him, he has an infectious personality and he grows on you so quick. Very quick witted, just like his dad. Um, very intelligent, like his mom. And yeah, he made some very good friends that he's been building out. I call his crew, his group of friends, and my wife, who's not a very big social butterfly. She's expanded her social circle too, has become more comfortable, and has really enjoyed getting to know our little dude's parents. And she's made fast friends with them as well. They've helped us out in a pinch more than a few times since we've been here. Um, and yeah, so now we call Jackson home. I'm sorry, Jackson. Wow. Yeah, we call Columbia, Tennessee home. And yeah, I definitely feel like this is an area where we could definitely look at setting up roots as time goes along. It's a place where you can get everything you need all within a good distance. Things aren't massively spread apart. Um, Crime, at least in our area here, we're in northern Columbia, just literally, we're by a massive GM plant in between the border of Columbia and Spring Hill. So this area of Columbia is really nice. We're in a brand new development. Our house was built uh, just in February of last year. So it's only been here just a little over almost a year and a half, not quite a year and a half. Um, but yeah, no issues with crime or anything up here or anything like that. You have to get further down into Columbia and further south before you start running into any kind of negative connotation, negative environments or anything like that. And plus the fact that with Nashville, unlike Jackson, unlike Calera, there's a lot more to do here. A lot more for me and my family to do here. We've frequented quite a few Nashville Predators games. We've gone to some Nashville Sounds baseball games. Um, and in addition to that, um, we've had other opportunities. We've gone up to Murfreesboro, which is about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour northeast of here. And there's a go-kart track and a mini golf course and bowling alleys. My son loves doing that stuff. He's looking forward to going back up there. Um, and even still, my wife's family is back in Iowa, and we are able to drive. It's about an 8.5 hour drive from here to Iowa. Because again, don't have the money unfortunately right now to do the whole uh, flying back and forth. So we're able to at least drive. It's again much easier than if we were still in California. So everything we need essentially is centrally located here. Um, you will also come to find, tying into things that you can do around here and opportunities, that I am still an aspiring actor. I love performing. I love improv. When I lived in California, I did do some improv for a local theater out in Burbank called the LA Connection. It unfortunately made us have to pay them a monthly fee to be able to perform, which is kind of backwards. We didn't even get a cut of the gate at all, the amount of people that showed up for our performances and things. But it allowed me to at least perform, and I got to have the honor of performing on the main stage of Flappers in Burbank alongside Edie McClure, known by a lot of people as Grace from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was a dream come true. Getting to perform on stage with her and just riffing back and forth was a time of my life. But I got to do improv there. I tried doing some improv here in Nashville. Unfortunately, haven't been able to really land any gigs. I've gone out for some troops here, but either didn't get it and didn't hear any feedback, or didn't get it and really didn't get much in the way of productive and constructive feedback. So yeah, that was kind of a downer a little bit. Just because I liked being able to, as I said, I love being able to perform. I love being able to make people laugh, make people smile. I love engaging and getting people to just to buy into what I'm doing. I have done the local theater scene when I lived in Iowa. I did some productions up there, some underground theater plays and things like that. Um, didn't really do any theater work when I was out in California. I did do a few little like central casting background stuff where it didn't really amount to anything. Like I was a background extra on Lethal Weapon. I was a background extra on a couple other shows as well, but I never really even saw myself on those episodes. Um, and then in Alabama, I didn't really partake in any theater there as well. Up here in Tennessee, I did take part in A Christmas Story in Jackson, where I was Santa Claus. So I was essentially seen but not heard. Um, and that was fun, mainly because of the fact that I got to at least make the crowd laugh and got to do my loud, booming voice, and got to make all these wisecracks and things when the kids were coming up to tell me what they wanted for Christmas. And another highlight was on one of our last shows. I actually got to go out front in the lobby before the show actually started, and my wife and son, excuse me, my wife and son showed up to that performance, and I have a photo of my son sitting on my lap with me in full Santa costume, and that's something that I will cherish forever, is getting to have him sit on my lap, telling Santa what he wants, knowing that, hey, it's actually Dada under there. So that was just an incredible time. And I loved the cast. I loved everybody out there, and it was through Jackson Theater Guild, so I send a massive hat tip to the Jackson Theater Guild, and I highly recommend, if you do ever find your way out into Jackson, Tennessee, catch a show there. They put on incredible performances, and you will not be disappointed if you attend one of those. But yeah, here in Nashville, again, I haven't done any theater work yet. We've been here not even quite a year. Been here since the end of June. I have done some extra work. I did 5 different extra scenes tied into episodes for an upcoming Amazon show being released called Scarpetta, that stars Nicole Kidman and Jamie Lee Curtis, just to name a few. I played a role of lab technician, and I got to play the same role all 5 times that they called me back for that. So, not a speaking role or anything like that, but I have a feeling you'll definitely see me on camera, at least in a couple episodes. So that was solid. And then just recently, here within the last week, I got to take part in a background role as a diner patron for a feature film rolling out called I Can Only Imagine 2, which is a sequel to the original I Can Only Imagine, starring Milo Ventricle Melania. I am butchering the last name, and I apologize. And if for some shocking reason, Milo, you listen to this episode, I apologize 1,000 times over, and please forgive me. Um, I actually got to meet him briefly as we were heading to set. He was actually in the van that I was riding in, and he's incredibly down to earth and incredibly humble, and even more so on set. Just interacting with the crew, the other cast, very very down to earth. I also got to interact briefly with Trace Adkins, which was another shock that I wasn't expecting. I know he's in the movie, but I was not expecting it. Very very tall dude, and voice just as deep as you hear on the radio and you see on TV. I didn't get to interact with him that much, but he definitely also seemed like a really nice guy. And yeah, it was an incredible day and one that I absolutely loved getting to do, and would jump at the opportunity to do it again should it arise. Um, but yeah, so I mean that's a little bit about me. In a nutshell, as I said, I'm a nerd, proud of it. I've been a nerd a very long time, as long as I can remember. You want me to throw back to how old I am? My first computer was a Head Start Explorer that my parents got for me when I was 5 years old. So not a day goes by that I'm not on a piece of technology in some form or fashion. Like here, recording the podcast as we speak. Yeah, I love technology. I have a PlayStation 5. You'll find me on there most nights just playing games, everything from right now I've been replaying Forspoken because I didn't get a chance to finish it last time I played it. Playing sports games, WWE 2K25, of course, MLB The Show. Been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm a huge, huge fan of Borderlands. Cannot wait for Borderlands 4 to come out. It is going to be the chef's kiss. Every iteration that they've released has been phenomenal, and I just savored it. I didn't just play it straight through as fast as I could. I just enjoyed every single second of it. Assassin's Creed has that same space in my heart as well, for the most part. They have had some iterations of that game that I have not been a fan of, like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I wasn't a fan of having to, just be on a pirate ship the most majority of the time, or the Assassin's Creed Revolution, the one that was centered around the American Revolutionary War. Wasn't a big fan of that one either. Those were the only two little two oddities out of the whole series that I didn't really jive with. Um, Another series that I'm crazy about is Far Cry. I've played all of them all the way through six. Um, Giant Giancarlo Esposito, Giancarlo. I'm not sure how to say his last name. One of my all-time favorite actors, and he was the main protagonist in that uh, game, and he just killed it. He knocked it out of the park. Every single role that he is in, he just blows me away with how amazing he is. Um, and yeah, so definitely a fan of Far Cry. Of course, who would be a nerd without saying that they're looking forward to GTA 6 finally dropping? Rockstar Games, after all this time, over a decade, we finally get GTA 6. And I cannot wait to play that game. It's looking amazing, and it's going to have a female cast member for one of the first times ever that you actually get to play with. Looking really, really, really looking forward to that. Um, I mean, there are other games, that I've played as well, Elden Ring, um, and things of that nature. So I'm all over the board, from first person shooter to sports to traditional role playing. You name it. Just like the podcast here, the Smorgasbord. I'm very eclectic when it comes to most things. Video games, stuff I'm passionate about, things along those lines. Yeah, so again, I'm also an open book. So anything you want to know about me, I implore you, when you listen back to this, shoot me an email. I'm going to be throwing up socials here, creating socials as we go. I'm planning on setting up domains for the smorgasbord.com and other things like that, and getting the word out on social media. I have a massive platform now that I am absolutely proud to be part of. And that I've just recently engaged with some people on that have allowed me a platform to be able to make my podcasting dreams and things come true. And that is the Midwest Podcasting Network. I'm sending a massive shout out right now to the Midwest. I can say it, I swear to God. I'm sending a massive shout out to the Midwest Podcasting Network, as well as the Scene Projects, which is also tied to that. Both of these are ran by the phenomenally incredible Bubba Starts. And Bubba, thank you so much for the opportunity that you're giving me to not only put up this very eclectic show on your network, but to be able to help you as well with the other shows that we're going to be throwing up on the network as time goes along. I also want to send another massive hat tip out to Michael. He's with Podcast AI. Michael is a genius in no uncertain terms. He is his ability to create things using AI and using all the new technology and software out there to allow us to create amazing things, like from my logo to show ideas and things like that. And there are a lot of big contractual agreements and things that are on the books or in the cards right now, and in working behind the scenes, that are going to absolutely blow you guys away. And he is a massive part of that. He's actually out of Toronto, Canada. So good. Sending a nice big shout out to my Canadian friend up there, Michael. Thank you very much for all of your assistance and guidance through this here, just in its infancy. So yeah, at this point now, I want to switch gears away from myself, going over everything that makes me who I am, and I want to quickly run down what is currently slated for the WrestleMania 41 card, and give you guys my quick thoughts and opinions on the different matches that are out there, as well as what I feel might be a couple more matches that have not officially been announced, but I think might be announced based off of goings on currently in the WWE world, as well as give you my quick little predictions for what I feel is going to happen. So let's dive in, shall we, to the WrestleMania 41 predictions and opinions section of this Smorgasbord debut episode. So we're going to start off with night one of the WrestleMania 41 card. Starting off with the confirmed matches for night one, we've got Tiffany Stratton taking on Charlotte Flair in a singles match for the WWE Women's Championship. I need to say, first and foremost, I've been reading a lot of articles regarding what the initial script was going to be for their back and forth little tete-a-tete that they had this past Friday on SmackDown. And if you read it, and if it actually is legitimate, it probably would have flown over like a lead balloon. It really didn't. It didn't really progress the feud the way it should have. That being said, the women decided to essentially go into business for themselves and start getting personal, start ripping on each other back and forth in ways that the backstage people were starting to rip out their hair. And I couldn't have been happier to see that. And you could tell the Chicago crowd the entire time was 100% on Tiffy time. Charlotte was just completely out of her league, not only with what Tiffany was saying, but in addition to the way the crowd was reacting, and you could tell it was frazzling her. To the point that at the very end of their little verbiage, their verbal war back and forth, Tiffany got in one final shot of essentially saying, you're going to end up alone 0-3, just like outside of the ring. Obviously, a nod to Charlotte's now 3 previously failed marriages. And you could tell Charlotte was definitely taken aback by that, and the crowd was eating it up. So much so that Tiffany was able to get out of the ring, and even as Tiffany was walking away, Charlotte tried to get in one final little shot saying, yeah, well, then why is Ludwig Kaiser, the stage name of Tiffany Stratton's real life boyfriend, why is Ludwig in my DMs? So Charlotte was just trying to save face there at the end, and obviously it's like when a boxer is knocked out and they're still trying to throw that last punch, even though they're already on the canvas. That's literally what Charlotte was doing. So at this point, unless WWE absolutely wants to turn the crowd against them and burn down this momentum that Tiffany has been gaining with and the confidence she's been building with her last few promos and things, I see them keeping the strap on Tiffany. I don't see them putting it back on Charlotte at this point. Even though when the initial plan when she got out, when she reappeared in the Rumble this year, was for Charlotte to be a babyface and to, ascend back to her rightful spot at the top of the card and on the throne. It has not played out that way. Charlotte has absolutely become the heel, and the crowd basically has told her in no uncertain terms, we don't want you here. You don't need to be here. We don't want you back. And because of that, I definitely see Tiffany retaining, and this will only help to boost her star status as she continues to reign as the WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown. Next match that's been confirmed on the night one will be Gunther taking on main event Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is from a Raw, Monday Night Raw that both these gentlemen are on. And to say the least, their little feud build-up started out with a shock with Jey actually winning the Royal Rumble. I can honestly tell you, and I know a lot of people agree, none of us thought that Jey was going to be winning that thing. None of us thought that he was going to be pulling it out. They're thinking, oh, who he's going to be in the last 4? That's great showing, but it's going to be Punk, or it's going to be, Roman, or, somebody, or Cena. It's not going to be, it definitely won't be Jey, but he shocked the world, and Jey won. So because of that, he got to pick who he wanted to face for the World Heavyweight Champ, or for his world title match. And he could have picked between Gunther or Cody Rhodes. And obviously we'll get to Cody here in a little bit. But Jey decided, hey, Gunther basically poked and prodded him and poked him and poked him and poked him to the point that Jey said, you know what, I've decided, I'm not going to wait. I'm choosing you. And again, their feud kind of started off kind of slow. It was just this whole Jey is scared. Gunther is just acting like this arrogant prick, for no uncertain terms, as his character is. Going, you're not in my league. You have no business being here. You don't even deserve this title opportunity that you're getting. But Jey has been gaining more and more momentum. I went to the Raw that was here at the Bridgestone in Nashville, and when he came out, that reaction, I have it on video. I got goosebumps. And I went to WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, and when Bray came down, rest in peace, Bray, love you. When Bray came down with the Fireflies and the Wyatt family, I had some of the most massive goosebumps I'd ever had ever going to a wrestling event. Jey's appearance just on a Raw in Nashville gave me goosebumps of a similar nature because of that. Just he's got the crowd. It's just this organic crowd following, a la Daniel Bryan's lead up to WrestleMania 30 when he started the Yes Movement, which eventually led to him winning and defeating the entire group of Evolution, Triple H in the first match of WrestleMania 30, and then Randy Orton and Batista in the main event later that night. But yeah, Jey has been gaining more and more momentum and more confidence. And just in the last few weeks, especially in one of their last encounters where Gunther savagely bloodied the living you-know-what out of Jey's brother Jimmy, and had Jey zip-tied to the middle rope, making Jey watch as Gunther just pounded and pounded and pounded Jimmy away to the point where Gunther was smearing Jimmy's blood all over his body and holding the belt right out in front of Jay, saying, "This is the closest you're ever going to get. This is the closest you're ever going to get." And then the next week, this past Monday, Jay came out and Gunther was going to talk. He was all smug with his red tie and his suit. And Jay just smacked that microphone out of his hand. He spoke from the heart. He used his real name. He asked Gunther, do you have a mother? And he went into a long promo about, having to face his mother, Jay having to face his mother, saying, "Why couldn't you protect your brother? Why couldn't you protect him?" And Jay just seething, like literally you could feel through the television that Jay wanted to rip off Gunther's head and use it as a basketball. It was that passionate and incredible of a promo on Jay's part and really helped to further this feud. That being said, it was one of the first times you actually, and they even said it on Raw, they said it's one of the first times where Gunther's back on his heels. He hasn't been on his heels this entire time, but now with that promo by Jay and Jay's focus and Jay's viewpoint, he's locked in. And as much as I could see Gunther retaining, I feel they're gonna give Jay a shot with this. They're gonna give Jay finally give Jay his opportunity to ascend to the mountaintop, and that's going to be like one of the feel-good moments of the night. I feel is Jay capturing the World Heavyweight Championship and celebrating with Jimmy and his family, and everybody else is going to be in attendance there. But it is going to be a bloody match. If they don't bleed, I will be shocked. I'm surprised it's just still a regular singles match. I'm surprised they haven't already added the stipulation of like no holds barred or something more sinister. And I could maybe see them doing that possibly on the Go Home Raw here coming up next week. But yeah, that match I'm absolutely looking forward to. Next match that's been announced for night one is the main event of the night. And that is Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, the OTC, versus Seth frickin' Rollins, a fellow Iowa boy from Buffalo, Iowa. They say Davenport, Iowa, but he's actually from Buffalo, which is about a half an hour, 40 minutes north of Davenport in the Quad Cities. Versus the first-time WrestleMania main eventer, a young upstart by the name of Chick Magnet Punk, a.k.a. Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk. This one's been building for a while. Roman's gotten interjected into it more so kind of started with back in Survivor Series, where Roman needed Paul needed help because Roman was down a man in their 5-on-5 against the new bloodline, and Paul called in his favor to his best friend, CM Punk, who agreed to be the fifth man and essentially helped them win the War Games match. So before that, though, when Punk made his triumphant return to WWE after more than 10 years away, back at Survivor Series 2023 in Chicago, still one of the greatest returns in the history of the company, and just that pop that everybody gave it literally blew the roof off of the United Center, and it was fantastic. But ever since he came back, Seth has been one of the biggest proprietors that feels that Punk has no business being back with this company and hates him with the fire of 1,000 suns. That's a direct quote. If you know what movie that's from, 1,000 points to you and 1,000 points to Gryffindor. Slytherin actually is the best house. But Punk and Seth have been feuding ever since Punk got back in 2023. He has also been feuding with Drew McIntyre. Drew obviously is not in this match. He's got his own little situation that he's dealing with. But Punk and Drew also had their little battles between 2023 and now. But this match was essentially, set up as a triple threat. Just from the fact that everybody hates everybody in this match. Roman can't stand Seth, hasn't been able to stand Seth since Seth broke up the Shield many moons ago with the chair shot to the back, heard around the world. Seth can't stand Roman because, whole bloodline and having feel like Roman was the god for over 4+ years. CM Punk, again, the reason why him and Seth have had a blood feud because they just don't like each other. And then CM and Roman have recently kind of started to be at odds because, Paul loves them both. And Roman doesn't like the fact that Paul loves them both. And Roman wants Paul all to himself. So Punk called in his favor. Punk told Paul, hey, I'm going to help you out at War Games, but you're going to owe me a favor. And Paul thought the favor was going to be making sure that this triple threat match was going to close the night and be a main event of WrestleMania. And Punk signed the contract and then told Paul, hey, Paul, yeah, that's not the favor. And everybody's like, ooh, what's the favor going to be? What's the favor going to be? And as of now, the favor is that Paul is going to be in CM Punk's corner and walking him down the aisle to this match instead of Roman Reigns or Seth. But I'm not sold on that, and a lot of people aren't either. Just this past Monday, Seth was getting ready, or Seth and CM Punk battled because Paul was in the ring and Seth came in, and Seth was getting ready to essentially beat the crap out of Paul. Punk came down to try to save him. Seth curb stomped him and then looked at Paul, and before Seth left the ring said, Paul, now you owe me a favor. So this is leading everybody, myself included, to believe that what's going to happen is this Monday night on Raw, the final episode before WrestleMania, at some point they will announce that the actual stipulation, these favors and things, I have a feeling is going to be that the winner of this, and they'll either announce it on Raw, or they may save it until after night 2 of WrestleMania ends. They're going to announce that the winner of this triple threat match will be becoming the number 1 contender for the undisputed WWE Championship and will immediately get a chance to wrestle the winner of Cody Rhodes and John Cena, which will be closing night 2 of WrestleMania next Sunday night, the 20th. So that, I feel, is what's going to happen. With as far as what the favor is, I don't feel the favor was just, I want you to walk me down the aisle for this match, because that would be a very underwhelming favor, especially if you remember back, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should. In 2013, Paul actually said to CM Punk, I am looking forward to the day where I can walk you down the aisle at the main event of WrestleMania as you battle for the WWE Championship. So, why not make that a reality? My choice, although all 3 of these guys have a claim to win this match, I would rank it from my lowest to highest probability of winning. I would say Roman is going to be least chance of winning. Seth would be second. My pick is going to be CM Punk. I feel Paul eventually his allegiance to Punk will come through, even though he's going to look like he's going to be trying to help each one of these gentlemen. I see Punk winning and going on, and that'll feed into my thoughts for night 2. And then, moving on to night 2, we've got 2 so far confirmed matches. Right now, the first match is another triple threat, only this time it's for the WWE Women's World Championship. Io Sky, the current women's champion, will be taking on the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair, taking on Rhea Bloody Ripley. And this has really become entertaining more and more as time has gone on. Now, Bianca, she's done everything she's needed to do to earn her spot in this match, as she also said on Monday Night Raw. She won the Elimination Chamber match, which gave her the ability to challenge the Women's World Champion, who at the time was Rhea Ripley. Rhea unfortunately lost it to Io, because Bianca was sitting on the outside of the ring. Rhea took her eye off the ball, got distracted by Bianca. Io took advantage, and Io won the championship. Io is now the champion. But Bianca has been very strong through this. She had a very strong showing in the Royal Rumble. Unfortunately, didn't win. Obviously, Charlotte won that, and that's why she picked Tiffy for her opponent. But Bianca won the Elimination Chamber, which gave her the ability to challenge for this championship. And then Rhea and Io have been battling back and forth, and essentially they had a match, and Rhea wasn't able to win. So it was going to be Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. It was going to be a one-on-one match for the championship. Rhea was not happy with that fact. Rhea was not going to let that fact just sit and just become gospel. So she's been interjecting herself and basically making Io feel like a redheaded stepchild. They've been shoving Io out of the way when Bianca and Rhea have been battling back and forth. They've tried to rekindle that rivalry they had when they were in NXT. And they've been shoving Io out of the way, and Io's finally been saying, you know what, screw this, I'm done, I'm finished, I've had it, and she's been fired up a lot lately. And that's what's going to make this match very interesting, is the fact that Bianca and Rhea are definitely alpha females, to say the least, and they have massive egos and massive attitudes. And Io is this quiet champion with a very mean streak when she wants to have one. And because of that fact, I honestly think that Io is going to retain. I see Bianca, or either Bianca or Rhea or they're going to do something that, again, like they did on Raw, is going to make them drop the ball, take their eye off the ball, and Io is going to take advantage, and she's going to walk out champion still. And both of them are going to be fuming at each other, and that's going to lead to a feud, and they're going to have, a rivalry that's going to lead to a match between the two of them going forward, and Io will move on to her next challenger. So at this point, I feel Io is going to retain her championship and remain women's champion. The next match I'm seeing here is going to be Cody Rhodes, the current undisputed WWE champion, versus John Cena. And I'm going to give you my opinion on that here in just 1 second, because I definitely have a lot to say about Cena, so give me just one moment. Alright, so the next match on the card that has been confirmed so far is Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, which is for the undisputed WWE Championship. Now, this one definitely has some history tied with it. Now, going back, way back old school, unfortunately, Dusty Rhodes, Cody's father, was never able to win the true WWE Championship. That was one of the biggest things, was that Rhodes had never held a WWE Heavyweight Championship in the history of the company. Cody, who obviously, if you watched WWE growing up, was in WWE to begin with. He did some very horrible gimmicks, from dashing Cody Rhodes to his Stardust gimmick. Left the company, helped start an upstart rival promotion with some of his buddies. A promotion that I am a fan of. I am not. This is not Marvel and DC here at all. I am just as much of an AEW fan as I am a WWE fan. But he helped start AEW alongside his good friends, the Young Bucks, as well as Kenny Omega, who I absolutely adore, and Hangman Adam Page. Cody went over there, did some good stuff for them for a few years, and then made his way back to WWE. And everything since his return to the WWE was about Cody being able to finish his story, finish the story of the Rhodes legacy, and finally hit the mountaintop and become world champion. Unfortunately, WrestleMania 39 happened, and he took on Roman and didn't get the job done. So he had to wait an entire another year to WrestleMania 40, where Cody was able to win the Royal Rumble a second time, and in doing so was able to finally finish the story with the help of, at the time, a good John Cena, foreshadowing, as well as the Undertaker and the Jey Uso helping out as well to clear the riffraff to allow Cody to finally topple Roman Reigns, end Roman Reigns' 4+ year reign as champion, and become the world or the undisputed WWE champion, which he still is to this day. Now, that's the history on the Cody side. The history on the Cena side is more of a shock. And again, as a kid growing up, loving wrestling from a very young age, I was alive, thriving, a thriving teenager when Bash at the Beach happened. WCW's Bash at the Beach happened, and it was Hall and Nash, the Outsiders, taking on Sting, Lex Luger, and Randy Savage. It was a 3-on-2. And they were like, we're going to have a third man. Everybody's like, who's going to be the third man? And nobody knew who it was going to be. And the match broke down, and eventually Hogan came out, and everybody's like, oh, Hogan, he's coming out, the red and yellow, he's going to save the day. And Bobby the Brain Heenan, R.I.P., love you, Bobby. One of the greatest mic guys of all time. He said the ultimate words, but whose side is he on? And obviously, as you know, as history tells us and shows us, Hogan gets in the ring, pushes off the referee, and promptly drops a leg drop right onto Randy Savage. And he was the third man, and he kicked off the NWO at that point. I have a lot of NWO gear. I'm currently wearing NWO sweatpants as we speak. I loved the NWO, still do to this day. So yeah, that was like at the time the most shocking heel turn probably in the history of professional wrestling, from most people's standpoints. That is until the Elimination Chamber this year in Toronto. Essentially, Cena was in the chamber match. He said, I earned this after my 25 years of service to the WWE. I have a right to be in this match. I'm going to be in this match. So I'm in. I'm not qualifying. I'm just in. And he made his way in. And unfortunately, Punk was in there as well. A bunch of other guys like Seth and Drew and stuff. And Seth had just gotten eliminated. And Punk was looking like he was going to win the chamber and get his title opportunity at WrestleMania, much the same way Bianca did on the women's side. But as Punk, they were just getting ready to leave. Seth had just gotten eliminated and was getting ready to leave the chamber. The door was open, and he came back up the steps and curb stomped Punk. Cena pulled him back in, took advantage, and Cena won the match. Cena became the number one, the number one contender. And later on in the night, after that match, Cody came down Cody came down to thank him, to set up their little, to congratulate him and say, hey, we're going to have a great match. Rock came down afterwards because The Rock basically told Cody, hey, earlier, I want your soul, and at Elimination Chamber, we're going to have a discussion. So you have Rock, Cody, and Cena in the ring. Rock telling Cody, it's time, da-da-da-da. And Cody's like, I can't give you my soul because I've already given my soul to this ring, these fans, and da-da-da. And then he tells Rock, in no uncertain terms, and not bleeped out on WWE, and yes, I'm going to curse one time because it's my show and I can. I'm still going to bleep it out just because I don't want to get in trouble just in the off chance that we get this published out there and things like that. But he tells Rock, he says, hey, Rock, go fornicate yourself. Essentially, it's literally what he said, word for word. And they didn't bleep it out. It was on Netflix, but they didn't bleep it out. And everybody's like, oh, no, he didn't. No. Whoa, what's gonna happen next? And then you look behind Cody, and Cena's standing there. And Rock does this little finger on the throat slash thing, and Cena's demeanor changes. For 25 years, Cena has been the hustle, loyalty, respect, make-a-wish champion, good guy up and down the line, and Cena's demeanor just changes. And we're like, he's doing it. They're finally on it. This is his retirement tour. This is his last year of in-ring competition in wrestling. And they're finally letting him do it. And he finally agreed to it. And He spins Cody around, he smiles at him, and then kicks him right in the mommy daddy button. And the Cena heel turn begins. And he just beats the ever-loving tar out of Cody, bloodies him up. The Rock whips him. Even Travis Scott, that freaking moron who had no business being in the ring, pops Cody in the ear, rupturing his eardrum. But yeah, he turned heel, and it was the most shocking. Again, right up there with Hogan in the NWO, one of the most shocking heel turns in the history of the sport. Um, and ever since then, Cody's been doing a great job at trying to, basically tell Cena, hey, this isn't the guy I want at WrestleMania. I want the hustle, loyalty, respect. I want the 16-time world champion. I want that guy, not this weak little female dog. Because Cena's just been crying about, oh, well, you guys never, acknowledged what I did, and you guys never loved me. You guys just used me as a toy, and I was just a puppet, and then Cody became the new shiny toy, and I got thrown aside, and da 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 da. So basically, it's woe is me. At this point, my prediction for this match, now, if it all kind of stems on who wins the triple threat, and if they do decide they're going to pull that little contract thing at the close, because if Punk wins, I fully could see Cena taking 17 here, becoming the all-time greatest, most championship wins in the history of professional wrestling, passing Ric Flair. I could see Cena winning, and then having a Punk Cena, and then having Punk go over Cena, and immediately closing the night with Punk on top, winning both main events of night 1 and night 2. And then Cena and Punk have a feud with Cena trying to get it back through the summer. That being said, I could also see Seth possibly winning the triple threat, and if he did, that would lead me more towards seeing Cody potentially retaining, because Cody and Seth had some incredible matches against each other once Cody first came back. So to me, it's up in the air at this point. I'm going to go with Cody retaining. Again, I could fully see Punk winning both nights, so that would mean Cena would ultimately win, because I don't see, unless they want to turn Punk heel for some reason, and I don't see why they would do that. Because then you would have Cody winning a hard fought match, and then Punk coming out and immediately cashing in the favor and winning the title. I don't see him doing that. I don't see him immediately turning Punk heel. So at this point, I'm going to say Cody's going to retain. I know I said Punk would win the triple threat earlier, but I can't see. No, I'm going to go with Cena. I'm gonna die on that hill. If Punk wins the triple threat, I see Cena winning the second night, and then Punk cashing in on Cena and walking out as champion after night 2. That is my pick. I am locking it in. I don't need to phone a friend. Now, quickly, we will go through the 8 matches that have not officially been assigned to night cards just yet. These matches are AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. Logan grates on me like nobody's business, but you got to give the kid credit. He is an amazingly talented athlete. He's picked up on things exceptionally fast. He's quickly caught on as one of the fastest rising non-athlete based wrestlers that WWE has ever had. And that's the reason why I feel Paul will go over Styles here. Styles doesn't need to win. It does nothing for him if he loses. If anything, this is going to give Paul even more motivation to move him up a little bit higher in the card and give him more of an ego. So I would say Paul over Styles in this. Next match is LA Knight versus Next match is LA Knight, versus Jacob Fatu for the WWE United States Championship. I'm giving this one to the Werewolf. I'm saying Fatu is going to go over Knight. Knight has been a good champion, but Knight tends to be more of a transitional champion. He held the belt for a while, did really well, and then Shinsuke took it for a little bit. Knight got it back. But Fatu has been in an incredible role ever since he stepped foot in the WWE ring. They have stuck a rocket to his back, and he's been launched into superstardom. So at this point, I see Fatu going overnight, and Fatu picking up his first ever singles championship in the WWE and becoming the WWE United States champion. We've got a War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, versus the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, in a tag team match for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. I've been hearing that this might actually go on next Friday's SmackDown before WrestleMania, which would suck because both these teams deserve to be on the WrestleMania card. New Day, obviously, they're legends. And the War Raiders have been doing phenomenal ever since they got the straps. So they may be going on during Friday night SmackDown prior to WrestleMania. They may not even be on the WrestleMania card. That being said, I feel the War Raiders are going to retain. They haven't held the belts long enough. New Day, well, this is just going to make them seethe even more and dive even deeper into their little heel run. So at this point, I feel the War Raiders are going to retain. The next match, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in a singles match. Excuse me. And I see, in this one, Drew actually has a legitimate eye injury that he suffered, but they said he should still be good to go for WrestleMania. At this point, I see McIntyre winning. I see Drew winning. Damian's been doing some good things on his own since he split from the Judgment Day. However, at this point, I feel Drew needs to get back on into his winning ways. And one way to do that is to have an incredible match with Damian, which he will come through and be victorious at WrestleMania. So Drew is my pick for that match. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Basically, they rehashed the Captain America gimmick that Hogan used to pull back in the day when Vince was still in charge. Anybody who has half a brain realizes that this is clearly Chad Gable in a Lucha Libre mask. Ray has taken offense to it, and rightfully so, because Lucha Libre is it's a heritage, it's a culture, it is very sacred, and Gable's basically taking a piss on it right now. Is it funny? Kind of. Just the way they've done the video packages and stuff, but Ray doesn't think it's funny. Unfortunately, I feel that El Grande Americano is going to win this one. Due to outside interference from the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, I think that he's going to pick up a cheap win over Rey Mysterio. He might end up in the process accidentally revealing himself as who he is, being really Chad Gable. But, again, Ray doesn't need the win at WrestleMania. I don't see him winning. So I'm going to give this one to El Grande Americano. You got Braun Breaker versus Penta versus Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio in a fatal four-way for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. This one's been fun. Not going to lie. Braun is an animal among men. That dude just continues to get better week after week and honing his craft. The way he speared Carlito on the rampway, I still think Carlito is flying through the air at this very moment. That was truly a thing of beauty. And Braun's been getting better on the mic too. He was green when he first came up from NXT here into the main roster, but he's been getting better and better and better. I don't see Finn or Dominic winning this just because, there's really... Why would you put it on? You could put it on one of them, and then maybe they feud with one another, but I don't really see a point in that. Penta has been on a hell of a run ever since he made his debut. I got to see him when I went to Raw, and he's incredible in the ring. His style is like none other, but at this point, Braun's retaining. Braun is just too strong, too powerful, too vicious, and he's got too much momentum on his side at this point. So Braun is my pick to retain as the Intercontinental Champion. We've got a grudge match, Jade Cargill versus Naomi. It was finally revealed that Naomi was the one who took out Jade to allow herself to become partners with Bianca when they were able to capture the women's tag titles. And then Naomi finally admitted, yeah, I did it. A lot of it is envy because she sees how successful Jade is. She sees how much Bianca loves hanging out with Jade. And Naomi finally let her green streak take the best of her, and she just hauled off and slammed Jade's head in the they destroyed each other at Elimination Chamber, and Naomi finally admitted, yeah, it was me, I did it, I'm the one who put Jade on the shelf. And ever since then, like, it's been a blood feud, even a short blood feud. It hasn't been a long drawn out one. It has been from the injury standpoint, but we didn't really know until just back at Elimination Chamber that Naomi was the one who was responsible for it. So this is going to be a very vicious match, and I absolutely see Jade winning this. I wouldn't say it's going to be a squash match necessarily, but I think Jade is going to destroy her. So my pick will be Jade over Naomi. And then we've got a gauntlet match to determine the opponents for Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the women's tag team championships. And at this point, depending on who comes out of that gauntlet match between the two of them, I don't see Liv and Raquel losing their match. I see them retaining their women's tag titles at this point, especially because they don't even know who's going to be their opponents for the match. The gauntlet match is going to be actually on SmackDown, on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. So, we don't know, exactly what is going to go down that night. It's going to be, Katana Chance and Caden Carter versus Bayley and, the Intercontinental Champion Lad Valkyria versus Pure Fusion Collective, which is Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, versus Mia Yim and B-Fab versus Piper Niven and Ivy Nile versus Natalia and Piper Niven and I can't remember her name. Isla Dawn, sorry. Piper Niven and Isla Dawn versus Natalia and Ivy Nile. So you have this 6-women gauntlet match, and one of these 6 teams is going to be the tag or the opponents for the women's tag champs at WrestleMania. It's a hodgepodge. Essentially, they didn't have a proper feud for Liv and Raquel, so they were like, let's throw 6 teams together, have them battle it out on SmackDown in a gauntlet match, and the winner could go into WrestleMania. And I have a feeling this is going to probably be on the pre-show or so it's probably going to be on the pre-show. And I mean, at this point, just looking at them, I'm just going to go on a limb. I'm just going to say Lia Valkyria and Bayley are going to be the ones that'll be advancing to the tag title match, where Liv and Raquel will retain their championships. Just again, because you're throwing these guys together at the last minute. There's no build-up. There's not going to be anything if one of them happens to knock off Liv and Raquel. And there's no dissension between Liv and Raquel either. So, yeah, there's really no reason to say that they're not going to retain those titles. So, at this point, that is the WrestleMania card, and my thoughts and opinions on that. And, in addition to that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap up this episode. Again, this has been a very interesting first episode, to say the least, and one that I'm going to look back on and go, okay, now where do we go from here? And that's where you guys come in. I need the feedback. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of thoughts and ways I want to go with this show and different episodes and things I want to do and talk about and stuff. But feedback is key. So I want to know what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to talk about, what interests you, what's going on in the world that you want to hear somebody ramble on about and get some feedback or get their opinion on and riff back and forth with. So yeah, at this point, I'm going to be getting all my social medias up here shortly. And right now, if you want to reach me, the best way to reach me would be my email, which is John, John, @ Knopick, Ventures, Ventures.com. Again, I'm going to be locking up the Smorgasbord domain names and things here shortly. But yeah, at this point, that's the best way to reach me. I'm currently on all social media right now. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can find me actually on Twitter currently. I am at SmorgasbordJK on Twitter. You can only have a certain number of characters on there. SmorgasbordJK is probably going to be my handle on all social medias, but for right now, it's active on Twitter. So if you want to reach me, that's one definite way you can do that. I'm going to be getting this out to all the podcasting outlets. Going to be getting it out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everything like that. Yeah, thank you guys so very much. If you've listened to my rambling and goings on here for the last hour and change, I thank you immensely. I appreciate you. I really hope you stick with me on this ride. It's going to absolutely be a journey, and it's going to be one that's going to be evolving every single episode as time goes on, and I'm excited for it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can make of this and seeing how big we can take this thing. Yeah, because I mean, sky's the limit at this point. You know, with everything that's going on in the world, especially here in the year 2025, we got a lot to talk about, guys, and I'm here for it. So for now, I'm gonna sign off. This has been the debut episode of The Smorgasbord with John Knopick. I, of course, have been John Knopick. Thank you very, very, very much for tuning in. I wish you guys all nothing but the best. Always remember to question everything. And to quote one of my favorite all-time lines from one of my favorite all-time TV shows, ladies and gentlemen, take my advice, pull down your pants, and slide on the ice. Have a great one, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.